I'm ready to start part 3, but I thought I'd better just go over this last part of the double track main line on the curve with my ballast and my pairs of set trackers. On this curve I've got 2 6-footers and 2 5-footers to make it up and be sure that I've got a decent curve going around there. And on the ballast front I've added a little bit of lighter coloured ballast between the tracks down that section, which I wasn't quite happy with. But this just shows what you can do if you wet your ballast first and apply it with a little knife. You can make your track look a lot more authentic simply by having different coloured sections, different pieces, instead of just one bland colour all the way around. I won't lie, these 2 joints did take a little bit of adjustment, a bit more than I expected, but perseverance is the answer, I think. Carried on with it, and I think they're okay now. Just a warning there really to be extra careful. But you can see the outer of the 4 tracks, I've torn a bit of it up, and I've come round to this scissors junction, which I expected to be the most difficult part, but in fact it's turned out to be quite easy. And the difference being, I think, that I am tearing out the old track, which isn't deeply ballasted, and it is on top of cork, and I've been able to find a nice flat surface and put the new stuff straight onto the original cork, line it all up, and the point motor bars, control bar thing that pokes up, is in exactly the same place. It required some isolations between some tracks, but it's all gone on fine. I thought I'd quickly do a bit of ballasting to get these points held in position so that tomorrow and the next day I can work with them and not worry about them moving about. Also, just to point out that I've moved 2 of these signals facing, and one of them's where the advanced warning board used to be, which is now moved up to there, like I said I would do. It's ballasted in, but it's not painted around yet. And the 2 trajectors have actually been removed, or dug out should I say, and are just sitting there waiting to be ballasted in at a higher level. Very briefly, a short session of ballasting, very carefully in and around these points. Obviously it's still very wet, I've only just done it, having laid these points easier than I expected. Moved a couple of these signals, and I've now also moved, or I've put the ballast under the 2 trajectors at a higher level so as to match the Royal Mail coach. A very brief update. I'm progressing with this curve similar to the way I did the very first one, with a heavy weight on this end which I'm about to remove, and then the track setters. Putting it, or making it, into a nice curve, which actually I'm slightly realigning to try and improve the look of it. I've now ballasted in the trajectors for the Royal Mail pickups, and completed that stuff there. Obviously it's going to need painting, and it might actually require a paint job all the way along so you can't see the joins. And I have progressed with a bit of tidying up on the new Bullhead large radius point. This one isn't quite as tidied up as the other, but it will be soon. And I have progressed a bit further around the curve and realigned it slightly to hopefully make it slightly better than it was before. Bearing in mind this was one of the first pieces I laid 10 years or more ago. Homing in on a Bullhead fish plate joint. You can see how authentic they look. I've done a bit more ballasting, one side of that track only at the moment. A bit more there around that curve. And I have used fine ballast to cover over where the signal posts used to stand, and where this one has been replaced to in place of the advance warning board for the post office pickup, and then fine ballast around that and the two trajectors to give the smoother finish, which can now be painted or will be painted in a few days' time, and hopefully it won't look as if it's been altered at all. I think you'll probably agree it's quite handy to have 2 or 3 sections, different sections of work on the go at the same time, kind of, because you can swap from one thing to the other just to give yourself a little break, really. But what I have done in the last few days is tidy up around the sleepers through these first few yards that I laid initially. I have painted in the trajectors, which I rather like doing. It's quite good fun, all the painting. And there's the advance warning board, and if you look there you can see how far I've got with the tidying up. And I've actually painted the sleepers once I cleaned them all so that they stand out better, but from that point on I've got to carry on that work. That signal is nicely matched in with the groundwork now, and I have progressed further around this curve with more ballasting, and as you can see I have a little pot of ballast there ready to do some more, because I have taken it a little bit further round the curve to this point here, where I have joined it on. And what I've done there is put a loose sleeper underneath the join, because I actually pared back the track to expose a longer piece of rail on the fixed piece so that I could get the fish plate on further, and it made a better join more easily, and then just slip to the spare sleeper underneath. And when I do the ballasting, that will get fixed in and you won't be able to tell the difference, hopefully. So that's 3 joins done, and compared to the last one, the first one's a bit of a bodge up, but it's still okay. The second one's better, and the third one, which runs round there, is better still, which I suppose is only to be expected. And that piece of track that I've added was what was left over from the yard which I cut a bit off of to do that piece there. So I've now used 12 yards out of my 25, and I think I might not have enough. About half an hour later, and I have pulled that ballast in to take the track up to the join, and I have done right at the end there to ballast in that loose sleeper to fill that gap. I'm sure the more eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that the loose sleeper that I put under that join was upside down. I've turned it over before ballasting, and there were half a dozen sleepers on the Bullhead side that had become unattached from the rail on this nearest rail, which I've also corrected. They clipped back on quite easily before doing that bit of ballasting. So now you can see I've actually taken the lighter coloured ballast a little bit further round, and I am going to finish part 3 with this work done, even though there is still one track left. But you can see the difference between the 3 that are done and the one that isn't, and then from those that scissors crossing onwards, there's 2 to do down to the bridge. So this will be the end of part 3, and part 4, the next part will be the bridge itself, which I have put up, and you can see where the new alignment comes in on the one I've done. The other 2 will be done in a similar way, but there's about 5 feet of track for 4 tracks there, which you've got to go across the bridge and on to this junction, and we'll see how that goes in part 4.